the best places to be in an SHTF scenario. Hey everybody, I'm Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. Today we're going to talk about where would be a good place to be in an SHTF scenario. Now, can't carte blanche that statement because SHTF scenarios run the gamut of what they are. It could be a small event, large event. I'm tending towards large event, collapse of society, that kind of stuff. Without rule of law, total collapse scenario. So let's talk about that. Total collapse scenario, for me, I would want to be rural. I'm going to get into some specifics, but rural, but not so far off the beaten path that you don't have anybody around you. I recommend rural, yet still have people around you for your tribe, your mutual assistance group, people that you can rely on, people you can work together with, people you can barter with. It's important to have a group. Very important, vital, especially in a total collapse scenario. So let's get into more specifics about areas that you might want to look into. Different states. Not going to get into counties. I'm going to maybe cover some locations in states where I feel might be advantageous for you to relocate to and or bug out to in a total collapse scenario. My top states for the ability to survive SHTF are based off of my knowledge. I do have the book Strategic Relocation by Joel Skolson. I've gone over it a little bit, and if you're looking for a place to move though, I would definitely get that book because it is a textbook. It is not just a book. It has so much information in there. It is amazing. It is an expensive book, but man, it is an awesome book. He covers a lot of things. I don't necessarily agree with him on every single thing and how he rated the states, but let's get into some states. I personally like Idaho. It's getting a lot more expensive and maybe turning a different way if you agree with certain things. I'm not going to go into the whole politics side of things because in a total collapse scenario, there are no politics. It's just everybody for themselves, every group for themselves, whatever, communities for themselves. Politics aren't as important for me. Maybe living now and prior to something going down and or setting yourselves up in a state that isn't so restrictive and keeping you down in the meantime and in the very beginning of an event. So Idaho, I really like Idaho. Here where I live in Washington, actually Washington State I feel is a pretty decent place to be. I got the entire Olympic mountain range, I got the Cascade mountain range, the Northern Rockies, a lot of places. If you go east of I-5, I find a lot more like-minded people. If I also come west of I-5, but south of Olympia and or more western part, you find it also. I find people I like and I agree with on a lot more things. So Washington State is actually pretty decent. Oregon, maybe the same thing. Not that familiar with Oregon. I would never relocate there. So let me get back to top states. I talked about Idaho. I want to talk about Montana. Montana is very rural. Lots of mountains. Lots of ways to get out, to hide, to survive. But some detractors from Idaho and Montana are the growing seasons. Especially in Idaho, I recommend the top half of Idaho. Growing seasons may not be that great for growing your garden, but you can do it. And if you have greenhouses and stuff like that, there's a lot of things you can mitigate some of the issues with skills and equipment. Here's another topic that's very important. It's not necessarily having to do with relocation, more relating to general preparedness. The importance of one of my favorite preps, one of my most important preps right now, and that is antibiotics. The JACE case, prescription antibiotics. There's ciprofloxacin, there's amoxicillin, doxycycline, several other antibiotics in here. Let me tell you, this is a lifesaver. This can be a lifesaver. We already used one of them because my wife had a severe UTI and it did the job perfectly. Antibiotics is something, I have other antibiotics, not just the ones that Jace sent me. I have amoxicillin, doxycycline, and penicillin that I got from a pet store. It's fish antibiotics, but it's the same thing. It's antibiotics or antibiotics. It doesn't matter. Check out Jace. Coupon code asymmetrical10. Save yourself some money. Check out the link in the description. I feel this is the most important prep to be getting right now. Another state I feel that would be good for this scenario would be Arkansas and or maybe Missouri, as well as some parts of Oklahoma, mainly eastern Oklahoma, anywhere in that Ozark mountain area. There are areas in Tennessee and Kentucky I feel that might be good, but they're too east for me. So let's talk about some other areas. There are areas in Arizona that are good. Some areas in Colorado that I feel are good. Don't have much experience with North and South Dakota. I try to stay away from the flat states, the plain states, because they're too wide open, too easily accessible by tanks and heavy equipment, helicopters, drones, planes. There's not much to hide you from that kind of threat. What it comes down to, though, really, is that almost every state in the nation has a good area that you could live in and that you could survive in. Even some of the flat states, because the growing potential. I feel the main important part is the ability to live rural, yet not so remote. That's why I should throw Alaska in there. But most of Alaska is very remote. That could be a good thing also, giving you the ability to get remote if you need to. But there are a lot of other states that have areas like that also, where you can live fairly remote, but then get even more remote if you need to. I feel the most important part and the thing you should look at is population density. You want low population density. You may look at politics. You may look at all the laws that are in place now if you're looking to relocate there prior to an event, which I recommend. Obviously, I would recommend living in an area prior to an event, not just going there after the fact, because after the fact, people are going to be established there and all the people that live there are not going to accept you necessarily when you just come into their territory. They don't know you, you bring in different ideals, stuff like that. I would recommend, if you're looking to set yourselves up for relocation, the sooner the better. Prices and everything are just getting worse, interest rates, all this stuff. It's not a good time to buy anyway. So I don't know if I would recommend relocating now at this current time anyway. You have to think about that. What are some other things that I feel are very important to look at for any area that you're thinking about relocating to or surviving SHTF in? I feel that one thing that I look at is the availability of diesel fuel. Some areas there's not that much diesel fuel. Farming areas, rural areas usually have more diesel fuel, but there's ways around that also. There's biodiesel, there's French fry oil, there's mineral oil, there's all kinds of stuff that you can run in a diesel engine, and you may not even have a diesel, so that may be a moot point for you. A big point for me is how many like-minded people are in that area. How many people are there that you could potentially form a mutual assistance group with? I feel that's very important because, as I've said before, you will not be able to survive on your own. You have to have a group. So there has to be people that follow along the lines of you and your beliefs, thoughts, morals, all those things that you can meet, get to know, and build relationships with so that you have tribe, so that you're not trying to do this on your own. That's one of the most important things. The most important things I feel are population density, low to very low population density, but not none, because like I said, you want people around you. The kind of people that are there, the growing season, game, wild game. We all know that won't last for very long, but that does come into play. The availability of water, that's a big one. And the ability to disappear. Mountains, lots of trees, woods. Those are what I feel and what I look at is predominantly the most important things, because those mountains and those woods and the rural and all that stuff plays into security. I'm a security guy. That's what I tend to look at. But those are the most important things to me when I'm looking in an area. So if you want to do some research, get Joel's book, Strategic Relocation. I'd highly recommend it. Look into it and do your research. Or if you're staying put, do research about the area around you. Intelligence is key. Intelligence is vital. Get out there and do the things. Keep on prepping. Remember that prepping is living insurance. Have a wonderful day, and blessings to you and yours.